Welcome back, guys, to the Orlando Huskies franchise. It is the recap video of Season 7. Your Orlando Huskies ended up taking home the Super Bowl victory against the Chicago Bears. It was a close game to begin, but then the Huskies ran away with it as they won 45-21 as Josh was your Super Bowl MVP. And we're going to go over some of the stats and some of the awards and everything like that in this video. We'll go over the playoff awards first, or playoff stats first. As round one, we took on the Raiders, won 24-17. And Josh had an okay game, 98.5 QB rating, 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a pick. It was a close game without Drew Stevens as well. Steven Sutherland with a touchdown. Hunter, 88 yards on 4 catches. Connor Kelly and Jamal both with a touchdown. Defensively, had 3 sacks to begin the game. A bunch of tackles for loss. Couple of late interceptions by the defense really helped us get away with that victory in a close one against the young Las Vegas Raiders. And then we headed to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. And this was probably Josh's second best game of the postseason. 155.9 pass rating, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns. Drew Stevens was back. Was okay. Steven Sutherland got into the end zone for us, as Kylo and Damian both with touchdowns on the game. As CJ Hunter and Gage really led the way on defense. As Steven Sane and Dylan both with a pick as well. We almost blew a big lead in that game, but held on to that and then went into New York to take on the 1-seeded Jets. As Josh struggled, the Jets' defense was very tough, but Drew Stevens on the ground with a touchdown really led the way. Hunter, 104 yards on 6 catches. Damian with 2 touchdowns. There's no sacks from the defense. 1 pick from Gage. I believe it was not a pick six. Thought it was. Was not. But a tough defensive battle there. Ended up winning, and then thought this game was going to be a shootout. 14-14 first quarter, and all of a sudden the Huskies took off and Josh balled out in the biggest stage of them all. As Drew Stevens and Sutherland were solid on the ground. Hunter, 103 yards and a touchdown. Jarvis Peterson with a touchdown. Connor and Anthony Reddick both with touchdowns. 1 sack from CJ. 2 interceptions from Keith Jackson. 1 from Gage. And then 1 from Dylan. Gage also had a huge kick return to flip everything in this one. Ended up giving us the lead off the kick return, and was the Huskies at every minute after that as they get their first ever Super Bowl win. Now we'll look at the season stats. Josh, 4,600 yards, 44 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, a 61% completion percentage, 110.2 QB rating. Solid season for Josh. A lot of turnovers for him, but made up for it with a lot of touchdowns. Drew Stevens hurt in week 15, I believe. Missed a couple of games. Still over 1,000 yards with 10 touchdowns. Steven Sutherland really stepped into that role nicely. Did not expect that much out of him. And Isaiah Flynn, he was solid. And Hunter, 92 catches, basically 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns on the year. Damian, 45 catches, 904 yards, 8 touchdowns. He missed a lot of games as well. Connor Kelly, 7 touchdowns. Jarvis was pretty solid. Connor Kelly, 7 touchdowns. Kylo, up and down season, 5 touchdowns. Anthony Reddick with 5 as well. Defensively, Shane led the team in tackles with 101 tackles for loss. And you had Vigil Hatcher, Larry Sims, Donovan Grimes, Nick Kitchens, CJ, Caden, Gage. This was a banged up unit for the D line, but solid numbers. As Hatcher with 6 sacks led the team. Grimes with 5, 4.5 from Larry, 3.5 from CJ, 3 from Gage, and 8 picks from Steven Stanton, 6 from Dylan, 5 from Gage. Shane and had 3. Keith Jackson with 4 pass deflections. Dylan with 8. Had an up and down season. Started to get beat a lot towards the end. See what the goal is or plan is with him in the future. Shane with 2 forced fumbles though. Only recovered 3 of them. As it won't let me look at the awards, but I do know Hunter won AFC Offensive Player of the Year. I don't know if it was showed in here. Yeah, Offensive Player of the Year down there at the bottom. I wish it would showed us, but he did win it. And I believe Stevenson was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, but he did not win it. And then we'll look at the season recap for the other awards. Eric Brazil, MVP from the Cardinals. Coach of the Year goes to the Jets quarterback or coach. And then Jason Blacklock, former Husky, wins Offensive Player of the Year for the Eagles. And we'll go take a look at his stats. And we'll probably check out a couple other former Huskies as well. One including Tyreek Givens. Looks like he got hurt, but was having a pretty good season. 2,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 67% completion percentage, 100 passer rating on the ground. He also 250 on the ground with a touchdown. Solid season for Tyreek, and it looks like he got hurt, so he did not play the entire year. And then we'll look at Jason Blacklock. Ended up winning Offensive Player of the Year. 81 catches, 1,253 yards, 17 touchdowns for Jason. It's a huge year for him. Now we'll go to the Giants as check on Javon Young. 63 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, no sacks, no picks, no pass deflections or forced fumbles. Kind of glad we didn't bring him back. Not a good look for Javon Young. And Pat McClendon on the 49ers, only 9 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, no sacks on the year. Another one glad we did not bring back. As gonna look at the Dolphins now. Justin, 128 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 1 interception, 6 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. A really nice season for Justin. But I like our linebackers just a little bit better. They were banged up a lot, but we also rotate a ton of linebackers in. But Nick Kitchen was his replacement. He missed some time, 70 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 3 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. Was a solid year for Nick Kitchens. And we'll check out some of the retirement as see if anybody from our division ended up retiring. As Miles McMillan is gone was only a backup. Brian Stokes is gone. That's going to be huge, not having to play him twice a year. Randy Madsen, one of the better players on the Broncos, and a couple of retirements on the coaching staffs for the Broncos and Chiefs. Going to be a weird division without a couple of those players. Stokes, McMillan, Madsen, all players that have been here for a while. But we could go over the roster really quickly, as this will be the final season in the Huskies franchise. We have a couple of free agents we do have to bring back, but team is probably going to look similar, if not the exact same, as we're looking to run it back and go back to back in this franchise. And this time, have more success during the regular season, as struggled a lot, barely got into the playoffs before a 2-game winning streak to end the season. Defensively, gonna have to get better in the offseason, but it's gonna be exciting for the last season, and I'll see y'all in the offseason. Peace.